Welcome to the YCNU podcast. Join us each week for engaging conversations with campus leaders, students, faculty, staff, alumni, and community members. From academics to athletics, campus life, and beyond, we cover it all. Have someone you want to hear from? Let us know. Let's explore the world of Yavapai College together.
Hello and welcome to the YCNU podcast. I'm your host today, Michael Grady. We have a special guest today as we're playing out the year here at Yavapai College. You know, if you're like me, entertainment's kind of a free-for-all thing. You're constantly jumping between streaming services and movies. A good movie is hard to find unless it's like Wicked or something from the MCU universe, and then it's hard to get away from. But we are very fortunate to live in a community that has great bookstores and that support books and literature. And one often overlooked component of that, a Yavapai College component, is the Literary Southwest program, which has been around here providing access to authors and discussions about writing and the creative process since 2008. And we're here to talk about Literary Southwest, what it does, who it's inviting, and what's coming up in 2026. And we're pleased to have Literary Southwest Program Director Lynn Durkee with us. Welcome, Lynn.
Hi, thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, great to have you here. So for someone who has never been to a Literary Southwest event, take us through it. I know there's not a typical event, but give us the general shape of what you do with authors.
Sure, right. Exactly. You're right that we can kind of do different things at different times depending on what we have. For instance, we supported a poet during the English department's event in October. So they're able to have two poets instead of just one. Mm-hmm. And so that's one way that we contribute to other department events and other literary events that are happening. But our major, and then last April, we had a poet come out, Julie Swarstad Johnson. I always try to say her name the wrong way, but it is Julie Swarstad Johnson. She did an in-person workshop followed by readings, and then we did an open mic with the participants who'd been there. So they got to actually read what they did during the workshop. And then this year, we plan to fly Nora Krug out for a student workshop, a reception and a reading. And each of those readings is more than just a reading because we also invite subject experts to come and do question and answers with them and questions from the audience. And we usually serve snacks. So
great. Snacks.
Exactly.
Great.
See, this is why I'm confused you haven't been out yet, Michael.
I know.
Not only do we talk about books, but we have snacks.
I am drawn to the power of snacks. So that's wonderful. And it's also wonderful to see how it isn't just to bring out an esteemed author, put them in the chair and ask them a few questions. That can be interesting, depending on the author, depending on the subject. But you also work to integrate them with the college, with the writing community in the college, and try to get them into the thick of it as well.
For sure. And I think a lot of authors recognize that people come to hear them read, but also they want to do some of it too. They want to know, how did you get published? How did you get started writing? How do you write? What do you do when you get stuck? And so all of those things, hearing from an actual author who's been published is really exciting, especially for students who are like, okay, I can see myself doing some of this versus I've been in programs before where the author just reads 2 chapters of their book and you're like,
and everybody
applauds. I could have read that at home. You know what I mean? Like I want more. And I think that's one thing that Literary Southwest really focuses on is helping students and the community members get more than just a straight read.
And it's not just for writers, but I think as a writer, you can get a lot out of that.
For sure.
You know, the whole thing, especially because if you're a writer, usually in the middle of a project, and it can mean a lot to go out and, listen to an esteemed author say, hey, I nearly gave up hope on this thing, right. Or I didn't think I would persevere on this particular narrative, or this is a trick I did to get me back on track. That can be wonderful. I mean, just as an audience member, it can be wonderful to kind of see, behind the curtain into the creative process.
Exactly. And the best writers are readers. So coming to an event where you can interact with people and read the stuff before you get there is really a great way to continue to improve and just to enjoy it. Even if you don't write, even if you just enjoy reading, there are definitely events that you'll love to come to.
That's great. And we're going to talk a little bit about Nora Krug and War Diaries in a bit, but I want to tip the hat to the rather esteemed history that Literary Southwest has. It's been here since 2008. You've had a number of big name authors come through here: Ron Carlson, Jewel Parker Rhodes, Tommy Orange. I know who was Rebecca Skloot, who wrote The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, which was part of a writer's read program.
Right, for sure.
Can you tell us a little bit about some of your favorite Literary Southwest?
Sure. Well, I'm a recent addition to the college, so I wasn't here as far back as some of those authors you've mentioned, but I really did enjoy our conversation with Alice Wong. She wrote Disability, Visibility, and it was all on Zoom and all online, in part because she doesn't travel, because she has disabilities that make travel difficult. And so to be able to have her and to hear her voice and the voices of the other authors that she had brought together for that book, and to really understand more about different perspectives and those things that the aspects of life that we take for granted that become so much more difficult depending on certain disabilities and certain aspects of life that some people deal with. Unfortunately, she did die recently, and maybe that's why she's on my mind more recently.
Yeah.
Because I'm so glad I got to hear her before she passed away. So
yeah, that's so sad that she passed away. But that's so important to get an inside out view of disability and the lifestyle that fosters.
Right. And we've got to hear people while they're here, because we don't know how long they'll be here.
Right.
Period.
Right.
Any of us,
Right. Absolutely. And I know occasionally Literary Southwest has hooked up with the Writers Read program. Can you tell us a little bit about that partnership?
Sure. Well, it's a really useful partnership because part of it means that I don't have to choose authors and bring authors and do all of the programming on my own. I can lean a little bit on the Writers Read committee to come up with some of the ideas and to connect with some of the authors. And our upcoming event in April with Nora Krug is one of those.
Oh, good.
So the committee was able to choose her. They wanted to. We kind of take. You mind if I get into this right now?
No, sure.
So they like to alternate between fiction and nonfiction, so that people who are like, oh no, I only read fiction.
Right.
We have something for them every other year with the Writers Read, and same with the nonfiction reader. So this year was a nonfiction year, but they'd also had a lot of requests for graphic novels. And so Nora Krug's book met both of those. Although it's called a graphic novel, it is nonfiction. And so it's got a lot of real things that happen to real people. And so that's a really neat aspect of it. So that's when we've got Writers Read program, it means that the whole college is kind of focusing on one book. And that means that we can do various different things with it. And so the kind of culmination of that is bringing the author out and getting to talk to her and getting to understand more about her process and some of the aspects that she learned by producing that book.
And I think that's really effective because the Rebecca Skloot novel, the Henrietta Lacks novel, and House by the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune were both fascinating books, very different books. And I read them because they were everywhere. They were all, they were all around the college.
I keep hearing about this book. I better read it.
Yeah, I know. This book is stalking me. I'm just gonna do, I think in both cases, it was like I did the 3-page test where it's like, I'm going to give it 3 pages to really hook me. And by God, it did, in both cases. So, and I'm glad you're not genre snobs about, oh, we only do fiction, or, oh, we only do classics. It's nice to see you moving around.
Yeah.
And it's a big jump with a graphic novel. Let's talk a little bit about, the book is Diaries of War, 2 visual accounts from Ukraine and Russia by Nora Krug. Tell us a little bit about that and how it's structured and what it is.
Sure. The book itself was inspired by, Nora Krug reached out to a journalist. She didn't really know these 2 people beforehand, but she reached out to a journalist who was living in Ukraine and to an illustrator, an artist who is living in Russia. Both of them spoke Russian. They're both Russian-born, but they were living in 2 very different places. And the war affected them in very different ways.
Oh, sure.
The woman who's living in Ukraine literally had to pack her children up and bring them to Denmark where her mother was living so that she would feel safe. And then she went back and she continued to live in Ukraine so that she could report because she knew the stories needed to get out. And then the person who was living in Russia felt like, what are we doing? And so it's interesting. I think there's definitely a third story here. And that's the thing about any story, especially war stories, but any story, you've got so many perspectives you could tell. She could have also contacted a third person who was very, who could have had a very different perspective. But these 2 different perspectives, we got to take what we get. And so the
absolutely.
2 perspectives she gave, she designed the book so that on each page you have 1 week worth of interviews that she did with each of these people. And so you get the perspective from Ukraine and then the perspective in Russia. And then you turn the page and it's the next week. And how have things changed and what's happened and what are their fears then and what are their concerns and what are they trying to do?
And I bet they got different presentations being in Russia and Ukraine about exactly what had happened.
Right, for sure.
So it's spun in 2 directions. I think in what I've been reading of that, one of the things that's unique about this is it's not a quote unquote, I'm doing air quotes here, it's not a war book. And both of the folks are civilians.
They're civilians. Correct? Exactly. So this isn't a war story from a soldier's perspective or from a general's perspective or a politician's perspective. It's a war story from people who are seeing their friends and seeing their buildings and seeing the war affect their daily lives. And so I think that's a really powerful thing. And we talked a little bit about the fact that it's a graphic novel, but that means every page has an illustration of what's happening in their lives. One of them has the little 2-year-old's hand on the journalist's hand. And that's not something that you would think about if you just said, oh yeah, I was with my child today. But to see it, the visualization of it really increases the impact, I think.
Yeah, I mean, seeing an image like that is much more effective and visceral than a ripping paragraph written about a child's hand. But I'm so glad to hear that it's a civilian perspective of war, because too many war stories, you're right, they decline into where the front lines are and
why this is important for the government,
right?
Or whatever.
Why
it is.
and where the territory is and where the negotiations are, and certainly that is all important. But the pictures have told us since 2022 that this war, especially, is a war of civilians.
Yeah,
and I'm very intrigued to read this. I've ordered the book, but it takes forever.
Well, here's the good news. Once you have it, it doesn't take forever to read because it's a graphic novel. It goes really quickly and it sucks you in. And so it's something that once you have it, you'll really enjoy reading it.
Let's talk about the graphic novel as an archetype here. The first time I started seeing these things, I was a total genre snob about it. It's like, well, these are just long comic books. They can't possibly offer anything. And then you brought it up. Then I read Maus, Art Spiegelman's
it's really
book.
the first one that academics and people started really studying, instead of discarding it as a comic book, because it's not.
No, it's not. But it does a really fascinating. For those of you who haven't read it, first of all, read it. It's a 1986 book that tells a story of the Holocaust, and in the graphics, the civilians, the Jews, are mice,
right?
And their oppressors are cats. And if that seems like a really obvious metaphor, it helps you focus on the mechanics of the story and makes it very dramatic. It allows you to go to places without triggering the horror mechanism so much that you opt out.
Exactly. That was one thing that was really powerful to me the first time I read it, is if you see an illustration of dead mice, you like, well, that's a bunch of dead mice. But then to remember that these are humans, whereas if it had been drawn dead people, that's harder to publish. That's harder, like you said, to even read through. It's just so horrific. But to have it illustrated as something personified animals, but still animals, it's something that is horrific, but we can read it. You know what I mean?
Right.
We can get it published. We can just talk, I don't know. There's something about that visualization that makes it real, but also makes it...
It comes at you a different way.
Yeah.
In a graphic illustration, where the impact, the emotional impact is still there, but it doesn't disable you as an audience, I guess.
Yeah.
But that was the first time I was really affected by a graphic novel. That's why I'm really interested to read War Diaries when it comes in, because there's a lot of pop, there's a lot of potential in that genre. So I'll be in the audience April 3rd when she shows up. We didn't mention that she's coming. We didn't hang the date on it.
Right.
We were burying the lead.
Nora Krug is coming April 3rd, and she'll be here. The current plan is to have her be at the Center for Learning and Innovation here in Prescott. They're still, until like they finish the last paint and put up the last poster, we can't say anything 100%. But
there you go.
That should be done by January, and then we'll automatically reserve all the spaces we need to make sure that we've got a good place for her in April.
And you said she'll probably do some workshops or things like that.
She's going to do an event with the students earlier in the day, and then we'll have a reception with snacks, and then
I like how you keep sneaking in snacks. There, the way to our heart here on the YCNU podcast.
Yeah, and then she'll do some readings and questions and answers, and we're hoping that anyone who comes can ask whatever questions they want within reason, and be able to get some answers from her.
And I want to make this point too, that this is open to anyone. This is open, and it's an important point to make, because there's a lot of interest and support in literature and fiction and nonfiction in this community. So you don't have to be a student or a staff member. You don't have to have a corduroy suit jacket with patches on the elbows.
It helps, though.
It helps. Yeah. They will be issued for you at the door. No, you don't have. You just have to love books and be curious, right? To show up here.
And I think that is one of the strengths of the Literary Southwest, for sure, is that it is a community open to the community, supported by the college, encouraged by the college, but open to the community, so that anyone who wants to come and talk about Nora Krug, who wants to come and talk about graphic novels, the war that's happening over there, even 3 years later, we can come and talk about it and have all of those perspectives come together in that evening, I hope.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's wonderful about books in this day and age is when you read one, and you read a good one, you have to tell somebody.
Yeah.
Because it's such a solitary experience. So earlier this year, I read The Covenant of Water, and I had to go out. I had to leave my home and tell people how good this book was, because I'm all alone with this book. I get amazed by this thing. And I want to share that. And that's why events like these really resonate, because you can get all these people who have this very private experience to come out and share and gain additional insight. So
there's a real feeling of camaraderie when you're in a room with people who have read the same book as you, because, all of our perspectives are different, and we all bring different things into books and different things that we get out of books, but it creates a similar language and a bond, even if it's only for a little while. It's the bond that you have with other people who've read that book. That's
great. Now, can you tell us, does the War Diaries event is April 3rd, and we'll give you all a bump as it gets closer. Does Literary Southwest have anything else on the calendar coming up? Anything we should look for?
We don't have anything scheduled right now. I'm hoping to do something up at the Verde campus in March, but I just haven't done it yet. Okay. One of your questions earlier was, how do you pick books? And it's hard. Yeah. It's hard to think, okay, who do I, what books are local enough, but also interesting enough, and that we can get enough people to come to. And why is the list 50 books long? And, right. what do you do with that? And how do you make those decisions? And it can get tricky sometimes. And so sometimes
you can't just go, let's use the blue one.
Right. So sometimes I'm like, I'll just do other stuff for a while and that'll figure itself out. And it doesn't always figure itself out. But it is a goal of mine to do at least one other event up at the Verde this year.
Okay. That and if you do, you have to promise to let us know about it so we can tell folks what's going on.
Okay, will do.
Okay. And is there a place, number, website? Oh, I think I have it here.
Yeah.
You probably have it. So
it's a little long to put on the podcast. But if you go to the library's homepage and click on services, down below it says Literary Southwest. You click on there and you'll be right there.
There you go.
But you can also email us at literarysouthwest@yc.edu.
There you
we'll get you out more information there too.
There you go. The good ways to keep posted.
For sure.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing an inside look at Literary Southwest. Program Director Lynn Durkee, I wish you an excellent holiday season. Wish everybody listening a great holiday season. And we'll talk to you in 2026.
Have a great holiday, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to the YCNU podcast. We hope you enjoyed our conversation today. Don't forget to follow and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got someone in mind for our next chat? Reach out and let us know. Until next time, keep exploring, and we'll see you next week.